We cover the 2017 Honda CR-V, recap our Volkswagen Golf Alltrack testing, and answer viewer questions. Next on Talking Cars. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm John Lincove.
I'm Gabe Shenhar.
And I'm Mike Quincy.
And as you can see behind us, we've got a very highly anticipated 2017 model, the Honda CR-V, and I think it has the chops to possibly knock off some vehicles from the top of our ratings of small SUVs. What do you think, Gabe?
It's totally conceivable. It's too early to know that yet.
Right,
but
it's still in testing.
Yeah, exactly. But it has a lot of potential. The car is roomy. It's well equipped. It's we got an LX and an EX, so we have the two powertrains, the normally aspirated one and the turbocharged one.
Right. So can you elaborate a little bit on the two different versions of that?
So sure. The base LX has the 2.4 liter engine, a normally aspirated engine, totally regular engine. The EX up-level model comes with a smaller 1.5 liter engine that's turbo and is designed to suck in more air to make it quicker and more fuel efficient. Although horsepower is pretty similar between the two, but it's kind of like with the Civic, that there's one regular engine, one turbo engine. So we'll see which one's better, which one gets the better fuel economy. I mean, I think these are pretty promising cars.
Right. Well, I mean, Mike, they use a CVT, and we've put on, I think, we put on almost our test break-in mileage at this point. What have you felt with both of them? Have you seen one that's a little more enjoyable, one a little noisier, a little quieter? What do you think? I mean,
well, certainly CVTs have a love-hate relationship with us. There's some manufacturers that do it well, some manufacturers don't do it well.
Right.
It's pretty unobtrusive in my experience. It's probably one of the better ones out there. It still doesn't kind of compete it's just not as nice and satisfying as I guess the 6-speed unit in the RAV4.
Right,
for example.
tons of hold revs. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, and there's a reason though that the CR-V is one of the most popular models searched for on Consumer Reports online. I mean, the Subaru Forester. This is always the vehicle that young families always interested in finding out more.
Well, what do you think they've done? Well, I was going to say, what do you think they've done differently in this one? With a redesign on top of that search vehicle. We know it's been one of the most popular sales models out there. It's had average to very good reliability over the years, ups and downs. What about this one? What have they changed?
Well, I think they're smart to go a little bit bigger because that's kind of the trend. It was once a small SUV and now it's kind of growing a lot larger. They're doing better with some of their infotainment systems, I think. But they're still not as good as some of the best ones that we've tested.
Sure.
Honda, just as a corporation, makes me wonder what's going on. I mean, we don't recommend any of their Acura sedans. The Civic isn't recommended by Consumer Reports anymore.
Reliability.
So, it has, as the CR-V a sign that Honda is waking up from their slumber.
Gabe, what do you think of that?
Well, by the way, the CR-V is the most popular car among our readers. I mean, there are tons of our subscribers that have a CR-V, and why not? I mean, wouldn't you want a CR in your model car, right?
Yes. Well, and it's reflected in our owner survey because we get a lot of data of satisfaction as well as reliability data.
Exactly. So, yeah, Mike is right with his impressions. Both cars work well. I think the CVT is kind of like, it's pretty palatable when you're just loafing around. I mean, if you're really in a hurry, it's got some of the symptoms of a CVT with the rubber band kind of feeling. Right. And that's true for both of the turbo and the non-turbo.
Yeah. I mean, I spent a couple hundred miles, about 300 miles in the EX that we have. And it's a cloth seat one. And I was shocked at just how nice that vehicle is with the cloth seats, even the touchscreen. I know their touchscreen infotainment system, the big flat panel, it looks nice. Its reliability has been up and down. This one seems to be a little faster, a little snappier. Some of the logic's changed a little bit. Still, it's nice to have a volume knob. I'd rather have a tuning knob.
Sure.
Things like that. This LX back here, it's a great vehicle.
It works.
It's super comfy. It's got the roominess you talked about, and then the infotainment system. I mean, it's a real basic setup. It's darn good.
Yeah, actually, I wish that this normally aspirated engine would be available with other trim lines, so you get the better. Or I don't know if better, but the more elaborate infotainment system and the power seat and the heated seats.
Right.
And the sunroof and such. Things you get on the EX, but you don't get on the LX.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
So
that's what's frustrating to me is like the CRV that I would want, they don't really make. I mean, I want the better engine, I want the better seats, but I want the simpler controls.
Right.
And all the safety equipment also.
Right,
You know,
right.
it doesn't seem like you can get exactly that.
that's a key thing to mention. You know that the Honda sensing system is available on this throughout the line. So you know you're getting forward collision warning, you're getting automatic emergency braking, and you finally have a conventional blind spot system. We don't have the lane watch with the weird screen. So
Yeah, thank God that's gone.
Right, right. So you know we're gonna put the final miles on that, get that through testing, you know, in this late winter, springtime,
Yeah,
and get that score out to everyone because again, it's a popular vehicle, huge among our readers.
Absolutely. And it's a pretty good deal too. I mean, 24,000 for the LX, and you get a pretty large car, which, you know, a lot of room.
Oh, ton of room in the back seat.
Drives reasonably well.
Yep.
They totally improved the handling. It's much more agile now. The ride is better, less road noise as well.
It
The
is a
EX at 29 and change is also a pretty good deal. You get power seats, four-way lumbar supports. I mean, you don't even get that in any Acura.
Yeah, you
Four-way
don't even get
lumbar
that in a
support.
lot of big Toyotas or
That's
Lexus models.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, heated seats and all the active safety features you mentioned.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the one thing, you know, to wrap up on the CRV, we didn't even get the EXL, which is a popular level. Those seats are fantastic. Those cloth seats, they're high quality. It's not as if you
The
went
L
down
is
a level.
leather, by the way.
Right, right. The EXL is the leather. We got the EX. I was shocked at that. So it's really, really great. So another.
I'm with you about the knob, by the way. I don't need the volume knob because I do that with the steering wheel.
Yeah.
And you do need the tuning knob.
tapping and
for-
tapping and tapping is
Yeah.
as frustrating as anything.
I know.
The other vehicle that a lot of people have asked us about, and we published our ratings recently, Volkswagen Golf Alltrack. So, Mike, why don't you just give a little bit overview on what that is and what we thought about it?
To me, it's one of those almost perfect vehicles. I love the Alltrack. I love how the visibility is outstanding. The seats are comfortable. The engine is really responsive. It has kind of a burlier, more muscular look to it with the little fender flares, a little slightly elevated ride height. It has excellent steering. I mean, all the things that we love about how Volkswagens drive is incorporated in the Alltrack. The problem that I have with the Alltrack is the reliability is such a crapshoot with
Right.
Volkswagen. I mean,
Sure,
you'd
sure.
almost want to say, I want everything that's good about the Alltrack, the way it drives, but I want like Subaru's corporate reliability,
yeah.
instead of Volkswagens. That's my one kind of pause.
Would that be
when
a
it comes to
kicker for you? Would you go Outback over Alltrack just because of that?
Well, I mean, my heart says Alltrack.
Yeah.
My head says Subaru Outback. I think if I was really going to consider something like this, I'd lease the Volkswagen.
Sure.
Because at the end of the lease, maybe when stuff starts breaking, falling apart,
Or you've had a good experience, you know, depending on how it goes.
you could kind of walk away from
Right,
it.
right.
If you're going to keep a vehicle for a really long time, I would definitely go with the Subaru.
So, reliability over performance, the quality interior. Because, not that Subaru has a bad interior or anything like this, but the Alltrack is almost like a affordable Audi Allroad to some ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's very substantial. It's very sophisticated. It drives beautifully. You kind of feel like you're in an Audi with the Alltrack. Despite the raised ride height, it doesn't really compromise anything about the ride or the handling.
Yeah, you don't feel tippy or anything
Right.
like that.
And,
So easy to live with. You know,
It
day to
is,
day.
so I think it's a pretty compelling proposition for $30,000 if you don't need all the room that the Outback affords you. And
I mean, that's almost
and you appreciate,
SUV-ish.
right? And you appreciate the driving characteristics of the Golf. Then then you're going to go with the Golf. I mean, even knowing that you might have some. Based on the regular Golf, according to our survey, reliability is not stellar.
Right.
But you might be in
Like
for,
I see in Outback, they
for a
dropped the
couple of
average
problems
this year.
here and there. Yeah.
Here's such,
And exactly, and the Outback is not really excellent like it
Right.
used to be. It's average.
Yep. Here's two kickers. So first of all, FCW and AEB, optional.
Right.
So you're cracking $30,000 in here, and we didn't even get one. You could get even higher level. And then you can't get blind spot in the Alltrack,
In
but
the
you get
regular
it
Golf.
in the Golf Sport Wagon.
Right.
So Whereas with Subaru, it may be optional, some of the packages, but you're getting eyesight, you can get it no matter what.
Right.
Right.
That's yeah. That lack of blind spot is really inexplicable in the Alltrack. But yeah, with the Subaru, you get the eyesight option, and it's available pretty much on all trims nowadays, right?
It is. It
believe
is.
so, yeah.
I was really happy driving the Alltrack. Had it for a nice long weekend, and you know the family, wife, 2 little kids. I had the whole BJ's Wholesale Club, you know, load in the back of it.
Oh, it's perfect.
And it was great, you know, and I wasn't worried about climbing up and down. You know, sometimes little kids climbing in and out of the SUVs is annoying. It was really great. It's a nice vehicle. The lack of blind spot was really surprising. There were a couple times I just expected it, you know, and you're driving the different vehicles all the time, you do expect it. So if you've had it in a vehicle before, all of a sudden, like, what's going on?
Yeah, I haven't been in that Alltrack for months. I mean, I can never get into it. There's always some name on it.
Oh,
already.
gosh, yeah.
I'll bet at the end, when we're done with this vehicle, it has some high miles because it's always being signed out.
I wonder if the Q7 or the Alltrack will have higher miles, because that
It's a
Q7 is
race.
pretty high. So we've got a couple really good questions that have come on to our YouTube site from the past episodes, and wanted to get some feelings on this. First one off is, what about your best recommended cars just for regular people who want something under $25,000 with forward collision protection, cruise control with automatic braking, lane departure blind spots? That's what people can afford.
Yeah, actually, nowadays you have choices. I mean, you can get a Toyota Corolla for $20,000, and you get all this stuff standard.
You can get a Yaris IA.
You
Yep.
can
If
get
you
a
wanna
Yaris
roll it
IA
out
for
the IM.
16, 17,000. Yeah.
Right.
But it's pretty much Toyota. I mean, I was looking at one of our lists that we have online about cars that are available with all this stuff, and
Right.
and it's it's Toyota Corolla, it's IM, it's IA, it's Prius.
Sure.
And because as Gabe says, it's all you don't have to think, oh, which trim line do I have to get? It's standard on all of them. So really, for the most safety for the money, you just got to go to Toyota.
I'm pretty sure you can do a Mazda 3 with some options and still
Some
come in
levels of
under
Mazda
25K.
3. Yep.
That's also
Some
a good
levels of the
choice.
Mazda 3. Subaru Impreza, the
Yeah.
new Impreza is going to have eyesight availability as well.
Yeah, our Impreza we got is 23 and change, and it's got all that stuff.
It's one thing. It's not going to trickle into the used car market as quickly. You know, you're still going to have to get a used luxury car, which is going to be a higher priced model. But I would say within 2 years, probably, we're going to start seeing these cars drop in. What do you think of that? Is
Yeah, I
that
think
where we're going to see them? Is that when people who are really looking in the $20,000 ceiling are going to find these vehicles?
Yeah, in 2-3 years, you're going to get all kinds of pre-owned used cars back in the used car market, and some of them, not all of them, are going to have this kind of stuff.
But as you said, I mean, it's the trickle down theory of new automotive technology. It's going to anti-lock brakes showed up on the more expensive cars
Right.
first.
ESC.
Stability controls, sort of expensive cars first, and then it comes down to be so common. And it's what I was thinking about when you said I'm driving the Alltrack and there's no blind spot. You almost get so used to having all this high tech stuff, and not that it's frills. I mean, it's really essential, very useful. And as Gabe says, the cheaper models are going to get more of this stuff as time goes on.
And I think more new cars are going to have it as well, and affordable ones too, because since we give more points to cars that have automatic emergency braking, AEB, I think that's going to be an incentive for manufacturers to equip their cars that way.
Well, it's a fantastic point is that, you know, we've seen manufacturers talk about adding it across the line since we started deducting points and adding points. Deducting if you don't have, adding points if you have it standard across your entire model line. And not just on those trims where it's like, well, you can get it on the EX Platinum touring level and you have to buy, you know, that $20,000 car is all of a sudden $32,000. So,
And that was Honda's MO when stability control came out. You had to get the highest trim line to get stability control.
right. You know, and so some of these, you know, they still don't offer it on the lowest level. They still have that, and they claim, Honda says, you know, oh, there's that owner just wants nothing on it, but it's going to come soon. Hopefully it's not through, they're not forced into a mandate. It would be much better to see them just do it because it's what's good business. So our next question is going to be about the BMW 330. Your review on the BMW 330i seemed to be quite a strong improvement over the previous version you tested, which was the 328i. How close are the 330i and the new A4 that you really, really like? I'll throw this again first.
Yeah, both of these cars are really good. I mean, I find myself alternating between these two. You know, one day I go to
'Cause
the
you can't get the
A4, then I get
Volkswagen,
to
right?
the exactly. So I'm happy commuting in either of these cars like for the rest of the year, by the way. So
BMW changed some things. You know, we harped but we found the steering deficient in the last one.
So after the freshening for 17, the car, the 3 Series now steers better. The engine sounds so much better now, and it's more, the suspension's more tied down, and the ride got a little firmer. It can be a little choppy. They also improved the iDrive, by the way, so the whole car is improved. And
I agree with everything Gabe said except for the engine. I think the engine sounds terrible.
Really?
The 4-cylinder direct injection thing is just, it sounds like a diesel. I gave a couple people
tapping
rides.
and stuff like that?
I gave people a couple rides in our 330, and one guy said, "Is this a diesel?" And I said, "No, actually, it's a gas engine." I mean, I think it sounds dreadful. It's not like the 6-cylinder engines of past BMWs, which I love.
Right, that's silky smooth.
Right, but once you're going, it's unobtrusive, certainly. But if you're standing outside of the car just when it's idling, especially when it's cold, it sounds wretched.
Still, it's better than the 328.
Right, the old
which always sounded like a diesel.
And it's kind of a commonality almost within the industry. You know, now with direct injection, you hear that tapping. You know, it's only the quietest vehicles with and by quietest, I mean ones with the most sound deadening by the firewall that's keeping that out.
Right.
You're hearing it on so many things. So A4 or 328, 330i, excuse me.
You know, I love both of them.
Right. You got to choose one.
I've had time to
wants
do long drives in both the A4 and the BMW 3 Series, and I'm leaning towards the A4.
Okay.
I think it's a little quieter. I think it's a little bit more comfortable. I think the controls are a little less daunting. I think visibility is a little bit better. I mean, it's not drastically better. Somebody drops a 330 in my driveway and says, "Here, I'm happy. I'm not complaining at all." But for me, to choose the two, I'd get the A4, and I'm a freak of nature. I'd actually order one with a manual transmission.
Oh, well, yeah.
Which you can still get with the A4, and I really, that car hits me right.
So the Audi camp, Gabe.
So I mean, it's really a matter of personal choice here. I mean, personal taste. I mean, they're so close. The Audi rides a little better and is a little quieter than the BMW. True. Personally, I don't know. I'd be drawn to the BMW probably.
Yeah, I find the BMW comfortable.
It's just more fun.
I like the Audi a little more. The Audi gives you a touch more space, I feel. A little more in the rear seat and just a little more in the cockpit. So I like that. Even with the display screen in the dash for the gauges, you know, it is a little convoluted at times. You know, it's popping out, it's going narrow. You have the gauges. It's cool. I tend to just use the center screen and leave it at that. I just like the feel, and I think a little bit lower, not as much of a tight cockpit as the A4. They both drive really well. Yep. They both get great mileage. They're fun to drive.
Can't go wrong with either.
You can't go wrong. You know, if you currently own an A4, stick with that. If you like the 328, go with that. 330.
Yeah, I think the A4 has a little bit more of a touch of a high-tech feel to it than the BMW. It might be a little more well-rounded, but BMW is more fun.
Yeah, there we are. So the last question we've got. Looking for advice on a Jetta TDI replacement under $15,000. We don't want another VW, so they had a bad experience apparently with the diesel situation. Something sporty and good looking. Thought about an older used BMW 1 or 3 Series or a 1 to 2 year old Mazda 3. BMW's drives better, Mazda's more reliable. We'll throw the mic. Where are we there? So,
Mazda 3.
Mazda 3.
Don't kid yourself. Older BMWs. BMW, break my wallet. I mean, forget it. In terms of keeping it going, the routine oil changes, routine maintenance, as delightful as an older BMW would be to drive, I would be very nervous about buying one out of warranty.
Especially 6 years old or something they're talking about.
But I tend to I'll give up some driving pleasure for better reliability. That's just me. That's where I'm gonna go toward, just because I've had unreliable cars that are costly in the past, and I've had really reliable ones that are really cheap to maintain.
And we don't know if the driver needs rear-wheel drive. You know, if they live in a sunny, warm area,
that's a good point too.
Climbs. But you can have fun with the Mazda 3 with front-wheel drive.
I don't think you're making a lot of sacrifice of getting a Mazda 3. No, it doesn't drive like a BMW, but it drives better than you'd think a kind of an economy car would drive. Lots of features, pretty good controls depending on whether or not you got the center controller thing.
Right. Generation-wise.
And a good reliability history. I mean, a lot of Mazdas hold up very well over the long term and have pretty decent owner satisfaction according to our surveys.
Right.
So I mean, maybe a 3 Series if you're retired and you don't have to worry about it. So
Yeah,
much.
it's someone younger.
But no.
So
Yeah, I think
the
a Mazda-
fun or the practicality?
No, nothing wrong with the Mazda 3. You can't go wrong there. But I think if you want to expand your choices there, I think maybe by dropping a year or two, you might want to, if you want something a little more substantial and quieter than the Mazda 3, you might want to look at Honda Accord maybe, or even the Mazda 6 or a Ford Fusion.
Right.
Good point.
The Ford Fusion, I was going to say,
Very
the
good point.
reliability, being the issue, you could get a Civic, a couple-year-old Civic, not a bad car, not the sportiest out there.
But are you going to do that split screen Civic thing?
Well,
Remember
and that's the
that?
thing, you're falling into that previous generation Civic. Ford Focus, again, the power shift transmission is so problematic, but it's the fun sporty car.
Yeah,
You're
don't
gonna
do
have
that.
I wouldn't. I agree.
lower repair price per hour, but
Yeah.
you're going to be having the
Well,
reliability
stay away from the
issues.
Focus,
Right.
and I'd stay away from the Civic as well.
So at that point, we're left with, not a lot of choices. The Hyundai offerings aren't really like the sportiest ones out there. And maybe an Impreza. If you need it for the winter weather, you just want the security of all-wheel drive. And again, I'm not gonna say for sportiness. I'm saying for winter. You can look at an Impreza as well.
Or even the Legacy. Might
The
be
Legacy,
a year older.
Right. It depends.
Yeah.
If you can get in the $15,000 range, you can find an older Legacy, which would be a solid car and it wouldn't be too big.
But Gabe's totally on the money with a 2-year-old Accord. It's a great used car, a lot of car for the money. Excellent suggestion.
So Legacy, Accord, the Mazda 3, definitely a good choice. Stay away from the BMW 3 Series. The used BMW is a bad idea. Well, that's it for this episode of Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. As always, see you next time.